Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and to a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing a book haul. I haven't filmed in ages, so I am feeling a little bit rusty. It's been about a month since I filmed, if not a bit more, but it's only been about 2 weeks since my video was uploaded, so hopefully I'll get this edited and get it up soon. It's just been a tough month with lots of things going on. I have not actually filmed a book haul since my birthday, which was in April. So it's a good while considering the day after tomorrow is August. And to be honest, I don't have as many books as I would normally have. Like normally my hauls are massive, like 50 plus, sometimes up to 100 books at a time, which is crazy. I don't have that many books today. I have 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 20 something books. So it's a much smaller haul than normal, but I'm really happy about it. So I'm just going to start randomly. I'm not going to do any specific genre. I'm just going to dive straight into the books and show you what I've picked up lately. So first of all, I have 2 books from the same author. First of all, we have Your Darling Death, and then we also have When the Demons Take Hold by Lauren Carter. This is a really short novella that is like, you're the person that the story is about. So you're dead and you're being told by your wife Lilith what is happening at your funeral. You cannot really say much more than that because it will give it all away, but it is such a cool concept, such a fun idea, and also just a really creepy book that I really enjoyed. And because it is a novella, it's so short and I'm going to be reading this all the time. I literally am so excited. It is so good. I've read this already, obviously. I've given it a 5 stars. It is brilliant. But also we have from Lauren, When the Demons Take Hold. These are the best covers ever. I'm literally so obsessed. We're basically following a group of writers who are all in this house as part of this writing retreat. They've got this writer's block, so they're all going here. They think that being in a house with a load of other writers and like no distractions, no phones, things like that will help them to write. But as you discover through the story, when you get to the house, creepy things start to happen. And again, not something you can say much about because I feel like anything you say will give too much away. So I'm not going to say anything more than that, but it is a really creepy horror. I also have matching bookmarks on my Etsy page because of how much I love Lauren and how much I love these books. So you could have a nice good old cute paperback with a very cute cover and a very cute bookmark. I feel like as we were just discussing Lauren, I should show you the book that I picked up because of Lauren, and that is From Below by Darcy Coates. I'm sure if you've seen my videos before, you were sick of me talking about Darcy Coates. I'm even sick about talking to Darcy Coates, but Lauren is the reason that I read Darcy Coates. This one is the most recent book I picked up from Darcy, and this is From Below. It is basically about the Arcadia, which is essentially like the Titanic, and you are following 2 timelines. The current timeline where a group of voyagers, a crew, a discovery crew, go down to the Arcadia to film a documentary, and very weird and spooky ghostly things start to happen. But you also see a bit of the timeline of when the Arcadia was sinking and prior to it sinking, and the things that were happening back then as well. This was a really creepy book. It was definitely not my favourite Darcy Coates story, but I really did enjoy this one and I think it was super creepy, and yeah, 100% recommend. So I have read that one as well. We're not doing too badly here. At least I'm reading some of the books I'm buying. Then we have Frontera by Giulio Anta and Jacoby Salcedo. This is a graphic novel. This is what it looks like inside, the artwork. So stunning. This is sent over by Harper, so this is the ARC. So I read most of it in black and white. But I will of course be picking up a final copy at some point soon. This is one of the most like heart-wrenching stories I've read in a long time. I'm being attacked by books. Can you please stop? It really hit me in the feels. I was filming a vlog reading this and a few other arcs, but I cannot find my footage and I'm so annoyed about it. So I don't know if you'll ever see that, but I really enjoyed this one. We follow Mateo, who basically is trying to cross the border from Mexico to the US. And he meets Guimero, who is a ghost in the desert, and he his like aim in life is to try and like help people cross the desert, as the immigration officers or whoever they are, border control, are following them and trying to stop him crossing the border. It is such an accessible graphic novel that I think is perfect for all ages, and even I took something from this. So somebody younger who doesn't really understand these topics would take away so much from this story. It really puts you in the mindset of somebody who is going through this experience that I have not. And I just thought it was a really, really important book that I would definitely be encouraging my younger siblings to read, and I will be making them read it. It like teaches you something in a really heartfelt, wholesome way. Like, it's a sad story a lot. Like, there are sad parts of this story, but you also get to learn about a lot of these families and a lot of these characters, and it's just really important. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to reread it in full colour when I get a final copy. Next I have King of Battle and Blood and Queen of Myth and Monsters by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the Waterstones exclusive edition. I picked these up because I have this one on audio, on Audible. I just never really read it. So I kind of just thought maybe if I have them on my shelves, it'll make me pick them up faster. Plus the covers are beautiful, especially this one. We follow a girl who is set to marry a vampire king after the war to protect her kingdom, and then she tries to kill him. It fails, and he threatens to turn her into a vampire if she does anything like that again. And she's like, well, that's the thing I hate most in the world. I never want to become a vampire. So she's forced to live with him before inevitably maybe falling for him, which sounds definitely like it's my cup of tea and something I would thoroughly enjoy. I don't want to read the second one, so I don't know if it's like following the same characters or not. I assume so, but I don't want to find it until I've read this one. But yeah, I'm really, really excited about this one. I do have the audio, so I guess I'll find out which method I prefer with these. But they are stunning covers, and I'm really glad to have these on my shelves to hopefully pick up soon. But I have not read them, so these are the first ones that are still on my TBR from this haul, but I did buy them yesterday, so I feel like I'm okay about it. A lot of these I actually bought yesterday because I went book shopping. Oops. Next we have one that I might have already shown in a book haul, but I really cannot remember. And that is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. Normally I write down the books I haul, but I didn't this time for some reason, so oops. But this one I think is a small town romance. Yeah, that is following twins, and one of the twins is like an evil twin, runs away from her wedding and dumps the girl with her daughter. So now our main character's raising her niece in a small town and meets a guy. From that synopsis, I would not pick this up because I don't like kids in my romance and it just sounds a bit cringy. But I've heard nothing but good things about this, and I've heard that it's kind of like a bit sad sometimes, but I think it has a happy ending. Fingers crossed, because I want that. Next, I have the most beautiful edition I've ever seen. And this is Little Women. I can't remember what this edition is. Let me see. Hang on. Oh, it's the painted editions. So you can find them as Harper Muse Classics painted editions. And they are absolutely gorgeous. I just saw this and was like, yeah, that's the one. It has gilded edges and it is like illustrated. Let me have a look. There's like some illustrations throughout. The only thing is they are red, these illustrations, which I think was a very interesting choice. I'm not really sure why red was the choice, but okay. I've never actually read Little Women. I've watched the movie adaptation. Crimes, I know, but I've never actually read it. So now I have a copy to read. I think I have 2 copies actually. Oops. But I have a copy to read, and I think this one includes The Good Wives as well. I mean, from the size of it, I would assume so. Yeah, part 2. So I assume that's The Good Wives. But yeah, I'm really excited to pick this up at some point. But it's not one of those ones that's like a massive rush. It's mostly just the fact that it lives on my shelves looking absolutely stunning, as it should. What a beauty. Like, obsessed with this. And these are really, really affordable. I picked this up in a bookshop in, where was I? Leominster. I picked this up in a little bookshop in Leominster, and it was like £15, which I thought was really, really good because that's the price of a normal hardback, and look what you're getting. I must say, I do love how affordable classics are. Next, I picked up the final installments in the Magnolia Park series. This is Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. The reason I picked this up because even though I haven't finished the third book, they are being traditionally published and they were taking away the original covers. I think they've revoked that decision after a lot of uproar. But I panicked and I was like, right, oh my god, grab the book. So I did. I grabbed the final copy. I grabbed the final book in the series so that I would have matching editions, because this has quickly become one of my favourite series. I've only read the first two, the first Daisy Hates and the first Magnolia, and I have the second Magnolia, and then the second Daisy Hates still to read. But because I'm like so terrified of finishing this series, I'm absolutely petrified. Like, I've never really found anything like this before. It's definitely one of those things that's not going to be for everybody. It's like definitely a controversial story. They're romances that are very Gossip Girl-esque, very dramatic, very toxic. But you don't really, well, some people want the characters together. It always blows my mind listening to people read this series when they say things like, oh, like, I hate BJ. I hate him with a passion. I hate Christian. I hate Daisy Hates. I hate them all. The only person I love in this series is Magnolia Parks. Whereas I was watching somebody's video the other day and they hated Magnolia. They were like BJ all the way. And I just find that like so interesting how people have like different takes on it, because obviously we're reading the same story. And it's interesting to know who sees who is in the wrong. Not that I'm saying Magnolia is not in the wrong sometimes, but I think she's a queen nonetheless. But this is like one of the most, you could either see it as a really shallow story or you could see it as a really complex story. I see them as really complex and I think they're absolutely wonderful. And if you liked things like the friendship dynamic in You season 4, is that the most recent season? I feel like you'd like these kind of books because it's that kind of dynamic between all of the rich friends and all the toxic behaviors, and it's a lot of cheating. I don't know if they're gonna have like a happy ending. I don't want them to. Again, I have not read the final books. I don't want them to. So I'm like nervous that that's what's gonna happen in here. They're all gonna end up together and I'm gonna be like, no. Like, I like the other guy in the first book, not BJ. I hate BJ. But I hate Christian and Daisy more. I hate them. I only want to read Daisy's books for Julian because I love him. Anyway, that was a long ramble. You can tell I like this series. If you have not read this series yet, I would 100% recommend them. So good. But again, if you hate them, do not hold me accountable. I know a lot of people don't like them. It's definitely unique tastes, but they are so good in my humble opinion. Next we have Hex by Jenny Fagan. I read a library copy of this, I think at the beginning of this year, I want to say. It is a super short book, but it packs one hell of a punch. We follow somebody from modern day who has gone back in the form of a bird. So it's very trippy to visit a woman in a cell in 1591 who is being accused of witchcraft. And you kind of just hear about the fact that she's going to be hung for being a witch and the things that have happened to her, and just basically discuss it. She's like, I hope things are better in the future for you, for women, and the girl's kind of like, they're different but they're not better, we have different problems now. Oh, it's just such a good book. This is absolutely incredible, and I've been really excited to get my hands on a copy of my own that isn't a library edition, so I can literally, I want to annotate the hell out of this. I can see myself reading this so often. It's actually only 100 pages. And yeah, I'm just going to be, it makes me cry, but I'm going to be reading this so often because I think it's such a sad but moving story that always reminds me of how important sisterhood is. Like, I think sometimes we get so caught up in things we forget how important it is to stand by our fellow girls, and this book just reminds me of that. And I'm definitely here for the girls. I love the girlies. I'm definitely like hype up all women kind of person. And this book just reminds me of how important it is to be that kind of person, because the world is hard for women. The world is hard for a lot of people actually, but the world is hard for women and it always has been. And yeah, I think everybody would love this book, but I think definitely women. But it is a bit of a trippy tale, so, you know, be aware of that. You're going into something a bit weird. Next up, we have Flock by Kate Stewart. I was a bit dubious about picking this up. Firstly, these new covers are horrific. I know they got traditionally published, and so they changed the covers, but whoever approved this, jail time. I didn't want, like, I was like not gonna pick it up because I feel that the ending is depressing, and I don't want to go through. I don't mind a depressing end. I actually quite like a depressing end, but I didn't want to go through 3 books in a trilogy, because I think that's what it is, 3, to get a sad ending. Because I think it's a romance. I think it's a reverse harem romance. I do not want to read 3 books that end without the romance, if that's what happens. I'm not spoiling it because I don't know, but I if that happens, I'm not going to be very pleased. I'm going to give the first book a try. Part of me remembers reading this, but I don't think it was this book, because when I read the back, that is actually not at all what I read. So I think I got this mixed up with another book. I read a book that was set in a prison, and this woman had gone to prison, and then there was this really big, muscly, scary man that everyone hated, and they kind of like kept like staring at each other, and that's as far as I got before I was like, that is terrible. I thought that was this book, but that is not this book, because I read the synopsis in the bookstore and I was like, oh, that's not this. So what book was that? I need to know. If anyone knows, let me know. I definitely think it was like a self-published series at the time. I don't know if it's traditionally published now, but if anyone knows what that is, let me know, because that was not a good book, in my opinion. And I didn't read the whole thing. Next up, we have Grave Secrets by Alice James, and I'm going to be completely honest, it was mostly a cover buy, and the fact it sounded so cozy, because it says that, do you know, I'm just going to read you a bit of the synopsis, because I feel like I can't describe this better than the synopsis does. It says, Tony Windsor is trying to live a quiet life in the green and pleasant county of Staffordshire. She loved to finally master the rules of croquet, acquire a decent boyfriend, and make some commissions as an estate agent. But first she's got to deal with zombies rising from their graves, vampires sneaking out of their coffins, and a murder to solve. It's all made rather more complicated by the fact that she's the one raising all the vampires. Oh, and she's dating one of the vampires. Really, what is a girl meant to do? It sounds like it's going to be hilarious and just like a really fun time that doesn't take itself too seriously. It is the first in a series, first in the Lavington Windsor Mysteries series. And to be honest, the croquet is what got me, but then also the vampires and the zombies. It just sounds like it's going to be quite fun. It looks super short. I really hope this is as good as I hope it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be anything spectacular. I think it's just going to be a really fun, easy palate cleanser read, which right now I need, because I'm just not really into reading right now. Like, I'm slumping, and I feel like I could really do with these kind of books. So this is perfect. I'm so excited. Next up, we have Master of Sorrows by Justin Cowell. So I think this is set at a school. It says it's set at the Academy of Chimbulu, that has stood against magic for years. So I think that they train people to retrieve magic artifacts, and we follow Anev, who wants to become one of the skilled avatars. So I think we just follow their experience at school, and I think it's the first in a series. Yeah, the first in the Silent Gods series. Now this would never really normally, like, I don't know why I even picked this up off the shelves to read the back of. But once I read the back, I was like, oh yeah, that's my kind of thing. But like, apparently chunky fantasy is just in for me right now, because the next book you're gonna see is another one. It's just kind of taking over my life again. Like, I feel like I've been really in my romance or horror phase. Like, I haven't really read a lot else. And now I'm suddenly back in my fantasy, and it's coming, and I'm like, yeah, this is where I want to be. Like, I've been a fantasy girly since I was like 11. I need more fantasy. So this is great. I picked up Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Myro. Again, a recommendation from Robin from the bookshop. And initially, I hate historical. So initially, the first word of the description, what's this called? Synopsis, is 1882. And I was like, no. No, thank you. But then it was set in London, or north of Edinburgh, on the edge of an isolated loch. That sounds amazing. Lies an institution of crumbling stone. Yeah. And then meanwhile, in the gaslit streets of London. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. And then I read the first page, and it was like, yeah, that's So I did pick up this giant fantasy, historical fantasy. Is it fantasy? Yeah. But I almost didn't because this cover is horrific. I hate this cover with my entire being. So I was literally almost like, no, I'm not doing it. But I decided to get over my shallowness and I picked it up anyway. And I'm really glad I did. It's probably going to be one of my next few reads, even though it's huge and I'm suffering with a slump. I just really fancy this one so much. I'm really glad I picked it up. Then I picked up The Diary of a Bookseller by Sean Bithell. This is just a non-fiction story based on experiences the author had working in a bookshop. And I think it's going to be just quite funny. Like, I've heard a lot of funny things about it, and obviously I'm not usually a non-fiction kind of girl, but I saw it and I was like, you know what, that sounds really fun. It was in a charity shop, so I didn't pay a lot for it, and I thought, I'm going to give it a try. Although, depending on if the author narrates the audiobook himself, I might see if I can try and find the audiobook of this. But yeah, I'm excited by this one. A lot of people have talked about it. I think there's now even a sequel. So yeah, I think it's called Confessions of a Bookseller or something. But yeah, I'm excited by this one. It is different and out of my ordinary comfort zone. But I also want to read more about what booksellers go through. And like, is it like normal customer service where people are stupid? Or is it better because it's books? Who knows? Next we have some more books that I can't remember if I've hauled, but I'm like 99% sure I didn't. But if I have, I'm sorry. And that is The X Talk and Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. These were in the Works sale, so I got them both for like £2, I think. And I was like each, and I was like, that's a bargain. I think this one's a workplace romance about a weather woman. And then she hates her ex and she falls for the news presenter or something. And then this one is about a podcast where two people pretend to be exes and then they fall for each other. Do they pretend to be exes or are they exes? No, but they do hate each other, so they are enemies to lovers, but I don't think they're actually exes. So this one I'm so excited about because so many people love this book. This one I haven't really heard as many things about, but the things I have heard have been good and promising. So I picked them up. I'm excited to read them. Also, this author's new book, Business or Pleasure, sounds really interesting as well. So I'm really excited to pick these up and give them a try because they definitely sound really exciting and fun. And also, again, it's summer. Not that the weather knows it. It's raining right now and has been for weeks. But it's summer. It's nice to read some fun, pleasant romances. So that's what I'm doing. Next, I picked up Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. Jade, I think, recommended me this in the bookshop. I think she said that it sounded really good. It's about twins. It's a horror. And I think it's a moon horror. Well, what got me was the darkly comedic love story is a brilliantly layered portrait of trauma, rage, and vulnerability. And that's all I needed to know. You know what I mean? Like, I love that kind of thing. It sounds quite interesting. It sounds like it's about werewolves, which I think sounds really fun, which would make sense with the cover. Yeah, instead you got a wolf on it. Obviously. But yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I've heard absolutely nothing about it. I'd never heard of its existence until yesterday. So I love when that happens. Like, I feel like I never get to go into books anymore without preconceived notions from the internet, which I appreciate having, but it is nice sometimes to go in without that. So I'm going to read this before I see anything on it and make up my own mind, but I'm really excited to do so. Next, we have Fair Rosaline by Natasha Solomons. This comes out next month, and I hadn't heard of it, but now I have it. It sounds incredible. It's before Romeo loved Juliet, he loved Fair Rosaline, or Rosaline, Rosaline, whatever you want to say. Basically, in the original Shakespeare story, the quote is, it's actually in here, Rosaline, I had forgotten that name, and that name's woe. That's what the original Shakespeare play says, and this one is all about the story of Rosaline and Romeo, but then she realizes they're not in love and he's actually just a gross man, and she tries to save Juliet before it's too late because Rosaline is Juliet's cousin. This sounds incredible. I don't like Romeo. I've never liked Romeo from Romeo and Juliet. I like reading retellings, like I like him in the Our Violet Delight series, but I hate Romeo in the original Shakespeare. I think most people do. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm so excited to read a book where he's the villain. Absolutely. I'm so excited for this. I think it's going to be beautiful. I think it's going to be really powerful. And this is probably going to be one of my next reads. Probably my next one once I finish some of the current reads I'm in the middle of. Then I got Tastes Like Shakara by Nisha Sharma. I'm again so sorry if I butchered that word. This comes out next month and it's by the author of Dating Dr. Dill, which I did read and I did think it was okay. I didn't love it, but I thought it was okay. Like I had a good enough time reading it. I don't know anything about this one and it doesn't say the synopsis on this arc, so I actually can't tell you. But it does say in the trigger warnings that it deals with fat phobia, which I love because that means one of our main characters has got plus size representation. And I'm going to assume from the cover it's the lady. And I'm very, very excited about that. But it says, in the hilarious follow-up to the breakout rom-com Dating Dr. Dill, Nisha Sharma adds Shakara merch to Shakespeare's iconic comedy Much Ado About Nothing for one sweet and spicy love story. So there you go. I'm really excited to read this. I didn't know it existed, but I do love the same as Dating Dr. Dill. This has text message. Every time I find one, I skip over it, but it has texts in it, which I really love that kind of multimedia. It really just adds like a fun element to a story. See? Cute texts. I love it. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this one as well. So thank you very much for this, Harper. And finally, we got there in the end. I have Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I've been wanting to pick this up since I loved It Happened One Summer. Although, I'm not going to lie, I've not heard many good things about this since. The average rating is pretty low on Goodreads. But I'm excited to try it nonetheless. Tessa Bailey has been a very on and off again author for me, so we will find out. But it's basically following Hallie, whose childhood crush was Julian, and then when she goes to work for Julian again, Julian's writing a novel and Hallie is gardening outside of his window, and he's being very distracted by her. But he can't remember her? I don't know. The synopsis is quite long and detailed for no reason at all. And I don't want to read it. Well, I'm excited to see if this is as good as It Happened One Summer, or if it takes the route of her other books, which I found cringy and a bit gross. So this could go either way, but there's something about that that's making me really excited to read it anyway, because I'm like, oh, which way is it going to go? Is it going to be a new favourite, or is it going to be one I don't like? We will see. But yeah, this is a very beautiful cover. It's got a sequel out now, so I feel like, you know, if I like this, at least I have something to dive into. Obviously following a different couple, but nonetheless. Yeah, I'm very excited about this one, and that is the final book that I picked up for this haul. And breathe. So that was the 20 books I have bought between now and April, which is not bad at all. I mean, I have bought more, but I read some of them and then got rid of them because they weren't very good. So these are the ones that I still have since April. I'm pretty impressed with that. I don't think that's too bad. I could have been a lot worse. Let me know if you've read any of these and you think I should prioritize them. If I haven't already read them, let me know if you want to pick up any of these or anything else down below. And I shall see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Oh, shit!
You finished?
You skipped the bejesus out of me. I'm just filming my thumbnail.